Max pays a visit to his therapist, Vin, in the first scene. After informing the therapist of his condition, a flashback to the day he was born occurs, in which the doctors delivering the baby are overcome by his beauty and all of a sudden die. They decide to move to a small town in Massachusetts because they are hopeless and want to protect their son and everyone else. Max must wrap his face in bandages whenever he meets new people, so that his lethal face does not kill the people he meets. For everyone's safety, Max's parents take him to a more secluded location. He always wears a bandage over his face, sunglasses, and a hat to protect himself from the sun. He didn't take off the bandages that cover his face very often. He inquires about Max's feelings and suggests that it's all in his head, and that Max may be suffering from depression alone. After urging Max with a question that makes him take off his bandages, the therapist looked into Max's face and died. His parents, who are sitting outside the therapist's office, run inside after hearing a loud sound of someone falling, and we see Max immediately covering his face. Max's parents, Jan and Paul, were approached by two police officers who inquired about their son, who was always present at crime scenes whenever someone died. Max sat on the bench and stared at the bricks at his feet before carrying them home. They asked Max if the therapist had said anything useful before dying on the way back, but he simply says that he died before he could say anything. Max's best friend, Dan, pays him a visit for dinner, and his parents express their concern that he hasn't met anyone his age, suggesting that he use a dating app like his friend Dan. Dan is his only best friend, and they enjoy playing video games together or just hanging out at home. Max asked Dan to smash a brick into his face after he finished eating so he wouldn't look good again. Dan refuses, reminding him that the last time he smacked him in the face with a hammer, nothing changed. Dan tells him he needs to stop sewing like a grandmother and that he will set him up on a blind date for Max for Valentine's Day. Max, who is unconcerned about Valentine's, makes Dan hit him. Max, irritated that Dan is still on the phone, drops Dan's phone. He was hit in the face by the brick. Smack! Max went to the hospital with his mother. Max's mother also advised him to hide his face behind a magazine because nearly everyone in the waiting room was staring at him. Max looked for magazines as well, but all he found was an empty shelf with no magazines. A teen magazine-holding girl stated that the teen magazine she was holding would not assist her. She did, however, hand the magazine to Max in the end. He tries to strike up a conversation with the girl, but falls short. The date for the blind date had finally arrived. Max's mother tries to fix the heater by calling a plumber, but when the plumber realizes she's Max's mother, he hangs up. Dan approaches Max to remind him of his blind date, but Erica, the date, does not appear to be interested in Max. Craig, Erica's ex-boyfriend, sees them and wets Max's bandages with all the Diet Coke spilled on the table. Erica refuses his offer of another date at some other time, and that makes Max feel sad and hopeless. He believed that bad things happened as a result of his presence. Max was on the verge of committing suicide as he cried and stared at the deep blue water waiting to devour his life as he climbed the railing of a bridge. A girl approaches him as he prepares to jump into the river below. Alex, the girl who gave him the magazine at the hospital, is that girl. The girl keeps things light and encourages him to change his outlook on life. Max tells her about a dream he once had where he jumped into a river full of jelly beans after she throws some jelly beans into the river, but she tells him to find a higher bridge if he truly wants to die. Max, who was taken aback by Alex's words, was drawn in by her invitation to accompany her and forgot about his plans to commit suicide. Alex takes Max to her place of employment, a nursing home, where she tells him that it's more than just a nursing home for her, but the staff always makes her do paperwork and sign things. Esther, who has Alzheimer's, is the first person they meet, and she offers Max an ointment for his face, assuming it's due to a lack of vitamin D. However, after Alex informs her that he is depressed, Esther contacts Rosemary and informs her of the boy's depression. The two vivacious women introduce themselves and wish Alex and Max a pleasant day. Max finds solace in his visit to the nursing home, and he asks Alex if they can meet the next day. Alex declines his invitation, explaining that it's not due to him. As Max and Dan talk about the highlights of their day, Dan suggests that if Max wants to see her, he should retrace his steps and try to run into her again, because Max still doesn't know her full name. Max takes his advice and locates her at the bus stop. Alex accepts Max's invitation to skip school and spend the day with him, buying the Goblin game, watching a movie, and playing the drinking game. That's when Alex tells him that Max was her first friend ever. Max is a fan of the young lady. Alex is also a fan of Max. She, on the other hand, is not very forthcoming with Max. Their meeting is becoming more intense, and there's a growing sense of love between them. Alex, on the other hand, turns out to have a problem that is just as serious as Max's. Max falls in love with Alex, But Alex has a secret all of her own that she refuses to reveal to anyone, including Max. Max and Alex begin to hang out together, and the two loners become friends. They're both adorable in each other's company. Alex thought her life was a waste of time and a burden because she was always sick and had been sentenced to a short life. They learn to accept each other's circumstances and strengthen each other over time as they both open up their hearts to each other's situations. However, as the film progresses, his meeting with Alex causes Max to spend more time with her. The atmosphere at Max's house is also affected by the presence of a transfer student from China, Yu Shen, who lives there. Max's life is further complicated by the conflict between his mother and his father. Max removes his bandages and asks Alex to close her eyes and feel his face. The two kiss on the campgrounds. Alex is ill, but the girl keeps the worst of her illness hidden from Max. With Alex by his side, Max attempted to get through it all. They see each other at the hospital, but Alex refuses to accept that she's friends with Max and Dan in front of her mother, who seems critically upset after she meets Alex's doctor. We find out that Alex's mother doesn't allow her to make friends of her age. So she visits an old age home. Rosemary gets in a really bad condition, and Alex can't help but feel the intense emotions. She tells Max to help her end Rosemary's pain. After Rosemary's death, Alex stops contacting Max, but Dan tells Max to invite her to the spring fling. Alex's heart starts growing, and she agrees to go to the dance and gets sick there. Max accidentally kills Dan's date, and the police take him away. Alex is in the hospital and asks Max to kill him, but he refuses to do it. Max goes to see Alex after avoiding her for a long time and decorates her walls with his sewing. Alex is hanging by a thread and wants to end her life. So Max reveals his face to her, but nothing happens to her. Instead, she dies of the extreme emotion of love she feels and her heart grows out. After Alex's death, he goes back to therapy and all charges against him for Valencia's death are dropped. He becomes famous and people call him to make their pain easier, just like Alex and Rosemary. However, he finally knew that life must go on and his face can't stop him from feeling love for others.